Beautiful mates of YouTube, Aussie Marcel here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about 5 fragrances that have been getting me amazing compliments lately, and I've also got one honorable mention. So if that sounds good to you, let's get into the video.
Die Verbrennung der Amerikaner.
Starting things off with the honorable mention, Burberry Brit for Him. This fragrance is quite floral and quite powdery with a very prominent rose note. Having said that though, it's still quite masculine as well. It's sort of an interesting fragrance to smell because you wouldn't think it would smell masculine just by hearing those notes, but it is quite a masculine smelling fragrance. A woman could easily wear this one, so if you're buying fragrances and you're sharing them with your partner or whatever, this is definitely one of those fragrances to check out. Yeah. Musky as well. There's a big dose of musk in here. It's clean, it's versatile, it's cheap. You can pick this one up for less than $50 Australian, and you're gonna get about 7-ish hours performance with 3 sprays, so you can do a lot worse. People love the way these Burberry fragrances smell, and a personal favorite of mine is, where is it? Burberry Brit Rhythm Intense. This is a very leathery aromatic fragrance. I prefer this one, but Burberry Brit for Him is a much more wearable fragrance, better for mass appealing sort of compliments. So yeah, check that one out. So let's start off this video with my fragrance of the day, and probably the biggest compliment getter that I'm going to be mentioning, and that is Club de Nuit Intense for Men. All of these Aventus style fragrances, I thought they were dead. I thought it was done and dusted and in the past, but honestly, these are still monsters for compliments. Lemon, a synthetic lemon opening. Don't judge this one on the first 15 minutes. It's synthetic, it's harsh. After that 15-minute point though, where the smoke opens up to an almost aromatic, leathery, masculine, virile sort of potent fragrance, it is an incredible smelling scent, and you can pick this one up for well under $60 Australian. I believe they sell this one at Chemist Warehouse for $49 Australian. If you're in an area where you have access to either the Eau de Parfum or the Pure Parfum version of this instead of the Eau de Toilette, get those. They perform pretty similarly to the Eau de Toilette, except they're a little smoother, and I find that smoothness does play a role in compliments when it comes to fragrance. That's why the first 15 minutes of this one aren't ideal, but anything beyond that, and you're in the the golden zone, you're gonna get massive compliments for it. This lately, the last 2 weeks in particular, I've been wearing this almost every day, and it is a monster when it comes to compliments. It still is, and I feel like it's always going to be. So if you don't own this, if you haven't smelt it, definitely check this one out. If you want a slightly less harsh, fruitier version, check out Mont Blanc Explorer. Nishan also make a pretty potent Aventus clone as well. Or just get Creed's Aventus if you want to spend $400, $300 Australian for a worse performing fragrance than this. So it's up to you guys. Next up, we've got Johnny V, John Varvatos Vintage. This is a prominent tobacco smelling fragrance, and now that the weather's getting cooler, these sort of tobacco smelling fragrances are going to become ideal. I wouldn't recommend John Varvatos Vintage or something similar like Burberry London or Dolce & Gabbana, the one for him. I wouldn't recommend them for summer unless it was like a really mild summer's night. But John Varvatos Vintage, now that it's getting a little colder here in Australia, this is going to become a much more prominent fragrance in my rotation. This smells incredible. It's sweet. It's similar to John Varvatos Heritage, just the regular John Varvatos men's fragrance, except it's got way more tobacco in it. It's still a little bit leathery. It still retains some of that Johnny V sweetness, but tobacco is a much more prominent note. So if you love tobacco, if you want a solid performing fragrance, one of the better performing John Varvatos fragrances, check out Johnny V Vintage. You can pick this one up for, I would say, $60 Australian. You used to be able to find it on catch.com.au for like 30, 40 bucks. but it has gone up in price. Shop around. Sometimes at Priceline they have this on clearance for $40. Again, shop around. This is well worth picking up. It's incredible for compliments. Next, we've got Mercedes-Benz Club Black. I've been wearing this before bed. One spray to the chest, and it lasts all night. Vanilla, amber, incense. It's incredibly masculine. A girlfriend of mine once told me that this smells like a masculine cupcake, and it really does. It does kind of smell like a... It really does smell like a masculine cupcake. It's the vanilla, really. Smoky, vanilla-y, ambery, incredibly masculine. Not ideal for summer, but an absolute monster compliment getter when it comes to the colder weather. This is going to become your best friend come wintertime. I would highly recommend picking up a bottle. You can find it here in Australia for about $60 Australian. And another thing is that performance is 24 hours plus with a single spray. I don't know about your skin chemistry, but I only need a single spray to my skin and it will last until I've basically showered it off. It is one of the best performing fragrances on the market, and therefore it is one of the best value fragrances on the market. Next up, we've got Mercedes-Benz Le Parfum, and I've been wearing this one instead of Tom Ford's Ombre Leather. Even though I'm a vegan, I still love the note of leather in fragrances. I have seen quite a few people say online that Mercedes-Benz Le Parfum is a clone of Tom Ford's Ombre Leather. Smelling them side by side though, they do smell similar, yes, but you would be hard pressed to think that they were clones. Le Parfum is woodier and it's got a very prominent rose note, whereas Ombre Leather is almost pure leather with a slight amberish base to it and a very subtle, very luxurious, subtle smokiness. Le Parfum, on the other hand, it's the rose note front and center that really separates it from Ombre Leather, to my nose at least. Both fragrances are incredible though, but my recommendation, as the price is significantly lower, would be Mercedes-Benz Le Parfum. I have seen Le Parfum at Chemist Warehouse for about $70 Australian. It's gone up in price a little bit over the last couple of months. You know, the cost of living has increased everywhere, but for a fragrance that performs for well over 12 hours with 3 sprays, and something that just gets you these sorts of animalic, raw compliments, I would totally recommend Mercedes-Benz Le Parfum. If I wasn't already wearing a Musk Club de Nuit Intense for men, I would be wearing this one. This is just so sexy. And the last fragrance I'm going to be talking about is Prada Lhomme Intense at over $200 Australian. This is going to be out of reach for a lot of Aussies and a lot of other people around the world, but what you do get is a beautiful Iris Ford's fragrance that is powdery, a little woody, and it's got a leather quality to it as well. This is pure luxury in a bottle. It smells fantastic, and it actually smells similar to Dior Homme Intense. You probably don't need to own both of these. One is just as good as the other. Nowadays though, Dior Homme Intense is becoming a little overplayed. So if you want something very similar but a tiny bit different, perhaps a little more leathery, go with Prada Lhomme Intense. I don't get any soapiness. Some people get some soapiness out of this. I don't. Prada, Dior, these are luxury brands. You are going to be paying a lot more for them, but you do get an amazing smelling fragrance. And the sad fact is that brand recognition is everything here in Australia. Even if somebody doesn't like the way a certain fragrance smells on you, after you tell them that you're wearing Prada, Dior, Gucci, something like that, people will actually change their opinion on what you're wearing, not because of the fragrance itself, but because of the brand. Here in Australia, people are attached to the hip to these prominent brands, and it's quite sad, but that's just modern reality for you. So, anyways, with that being said, if you have ever worn any of these fragrances before, let me know in the comments below. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. What are your top 5 favorite fragrances at the moment? What are your top 5 fragrances for getting you mass compliments right now? And until the next video, my name is Aussie Marcel, and I'll catch you guys around.